A patrol unit from Israel's Bislach Brigade was sweeping through the Tal Az-Sultan neighborhood in Rafah, looking for potential threats, when a small group of militia moved between buildings. Yahya Sinwar, Hamas's 62-year-old leader, was within that group. An Israeli soldier from the patrol unit spotted the suspicious individuals before reporting it. After some analysis of the situation, the soldiers got the clearance to engage. The unit gathered to aim their guns towards the militia. Note that these militia groups have no intention of surrendering, so a deadly gunfight is about to occur. Bullets begin flying around. Sinwar takes the opportunity to escape. He quickly runs into a nearby wrecked building and settles on the second floor. The patrol unit eliminates the militia group and calls for backup. Sinwar, critically injured from gunshot wounds, rests on a sofa. Unfortunately for him, he has come to a dead end. The Israel Defense Forces are on their way to corner him. It is a very unlucky day for Sinwar. Yahya Sinwar wasn't just a figurehead, he was a bit of a legend for the Palestinians. After spending 22 years in an Israeli prison for protesting Israel's occupation of Gaza, he was released in 2011 during a high-profile prisoner exchange. He has been the head of Hamas in Gaza, rising to that position after the deaths of the group's political leaders, Ismail Haniyeh, and senior commander Mohammed Deif, back in July of this year. Sinwar then played a key role in shaping Hamas's response to Israeli military actions in Gaza and was also involved in ceasefire negotiations. In fact, peace negotiators in places like Cairo and Doha reportedly paused discussions to seek Sinwar's guidance from Gaza. Over the past year, Israeli forces have combed through the wreckage of the Gaza Strip, an area devastated by the genocide, with over 42,000 people killed in the ongoing war, according to Gaza's health ministry, whilst a Lancet study predicted the death toll to be much higher at over 180,000. And in the midst of all this carnage and blood, Sinwar has long been a key target for Israel since October 7, 2023, accused of launching Operation Al-Aqsa Flood on Israel, a devastating attack which resulted in the deaths of 1,139 people and the capture of about 250 others. Sinwar has been a high-value target for Israel for quite a long time, but how exactly did the IDF manage to close in on him? Well, believe it or not, it was an accidental encounter. It all went down in the afternoon of October 16, 2024, sometime between 2 and 3 p.m. A patrol unit from Israel's Bislach Brigade was sweeping through the Tal Az-Sultan neighborhood in Rafah, looking for potential threats. In the middle of their search, they spotted a small group of militias moving between the buildings. Among them was Sinwar, but the troops didn't know that. Either way, this encounter was reported to the headquarters, to which the authorization to engage was granted. The soldiers took positions and used drones to track the militia's movements. But eventually, it'll be noticed by those militias, and they won't surrender upon confrontation. Let's analyze what happened once again. Sinwar, with a wounded right arm, made his way into a damaged building, trying to evade capture. His team of 3 militia got killed by the troops. With limited choices, Sinwar was camping on the second floor and throwing grenades to stall the Israeli troops. When all was out, he then went to rest on a sofa. A drone was approaching to zero in on him. Sinwar hurled a wooden plank at it in an attempt to destroy it. Despite this lone fighter being on the brink of death, the Israelis still tried to avoid a direct encounter, calling in tanks and missiles. So the building Yahya Sinwar took his last refuge in was ultimately shelled. That's how he met his end. After the dust settled, his body wasn't immediately retrieved. Israeli soldiers were cautious, suspecting booby traps in the area. A day later, once discovered it was safe, they moved in and found Sinwar's body crushed under the rubbles. They were still worried about hidden triggerable bombs in Sinwar's body, so they cut off his thumb and transferred it to their headquarters to scan his fingerprint, to which they have record of since Sinwar's imprisonment. Later that day, after more thorough investigation of the traps, they figured Sinwar's body was safe to extract. So they transported his body to Israel. This final battle took place in Tal es-Sultan, a neighborhood already in ruins from Israeli strikes. Investigative group Bellingcat confirmed the exact location using footage from Israeli military operations in September, meaning Israeli forces were already familiar with the area long before their chance of encounter with Sinwar that day. Now, many have claimed that Israel used its intelligence to track down Yahya Sinwar, but it really was accidental. According to the New York Times, it seems more like a case of chance. The Israeli unit that stumbled upon Sinwar was made up of trainee squad commanders who had no clue the Hamas leader was even in the area. The report, based on statements from 4 unnamed Israeli officials, portrays this encounter as more of a lucky break than a premeditated operation. Both the US and Israel have claimed their intelligence played a role in narrowing down Sinwar's movements or pinpointing his location, but the evidence supporting these claims is a bit thin. After news of Sinwar's death broke, President Biden mentioned that he had ordered U.S. Special Operations personnel and intelligence teams to collaborate with Israel to track down Sinwar. Despite all these high-tech efforts, Sinwar managed to slip through the cracks of one of the world's most advanced surveillance networks. So, really, Sinwar's death now is a bit of a relief for the IDF. But by no means is it the end of the resistance. It hasn't ended under the pressure of decades of occupation. It seems unlikely it will now.